I was a pretty good target because I was active duty. It looked good for him, for the cop that was getting me, like, "Yeah, we got this military guy, active duty, bodybuilder." And I think he thought that I was, like, some kind of drug dealer, like, some kinda steroid dealer, which was actually really funny. What's up, everybody? It's Paradise Pump, and I'm Mark, and we got Jed and Mel. What's going on,
By
guys?
ourselves this time.
It's us. It's only us. We did have a guest scheduled, but he felt a little ill, so it's all good. We'll get him back on next time. So today, it's just 3 of us.
Well, today, I think it's a good opportunity for the people, probably all 7 of you right now.
I think I saw there was, like, 9 people,
9.
actually.
Hmm,
Yeah, but
we're getting there.
wait, did we lose him? Yep, we're down to 7 again,
Ah,
sorry.
shit. Well,
I know.
I think it'll be a good time for all 7 of the people who are watching us to get to know us a little bit more rather than just being like, "Oh, yeah, those are the guys that are doing this freaking podcast," or
Mhm,
whatever.
mhm.
Yeah, so let's start with you since you're the owner of this
Oh.
place, since you're the man behind the mission right here. Let's go, Mark.
Well, you want a little background?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Okay, there's a lot to cover here. I'll keep it short, though. Well, I actually grew up here on Oahu, um, pretty much born and raised. I mean, I did live on the Big Island for a few years, but grew up in Waimanalo, Kailua side, and, yeah, I went to Kailua Elementary, Kailua Intermediate, Kailua High School, and I did graduate from Kaiser my last year. I switched high schools. Long story, but I did it for sports. So I was into wrestling, and that team was good, and I was average at best, but they had a good team. So I figured it was, a nice little changeover senior year. Why not? But anyway, yeah, and then got into the military really young. Went to college for a little bit, then went into the military, and I did almost 15 years in the military. And
Thank you for your service.
oh, thank you. Long story, there's a long story behind that one. It was good. I was in the Coast Guard. I was Air Force and then Coast Guard. See like a pattern here. Like to try different things out, right? So, um, and got into a little bit of trouble when I was in the Coast Guard. Uh, messing around with some anabolics. So I was competing at the time.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I was actually competing at the time, and I was going to be doing the USA's. The was it 2007 USA's, and I had been prepping for it, and I had done a little like a small order, and I guess I thought it was coming from Texas because that's where the guy was sending it from originally. And then I guess he had a guy in Canada. I didn't know about it, and he sent it from Canada. And it was like the funny thing about it was, now I can laugh at it now. It was a small package. It was literally like a couple bottles of Test and some Tren or something. It was just for this contest, and I already had gear, but I needed a little bit more. And so it was kind of interesting how it was such a small thing, but that's how I got in trouble. So it was a whole, the it's funny because if you get a package sent from overseas, they don't need a search warrant, so they can actually open it. So like the postal service can just go in there and just open it.
Now
If
you
it's
guys
not,
know.
yeah, if it's not interconus, right? I mean, Hawaii isn't considered interconus, but it is. It's part of the United States, right? So they would have to get a warrant. Not that they can't get a warrant. It's not very hard for police officers to get that, you know. But if your package is delayed like a week or two, then you might want to think about, not trying to teach guys how to do it, but hey, that's the way you do it. If you see it's delayed, there might be something going on. So yeah, so they were able to open this package, and then of course they saw what was in there. And at the time, and I'm pretty sure they still have it. There's police at the airport, so there might be like an officer in charge there who's kind of in charge of all these things that come in, and then they kind of look at it. And I think they decide what they wanna go after, you know what I mean? It's not like every single thing that they get, they're gonna go after every single person, I don't think so, that doesn't work like that, so they decided I was a pretty good target because I was active duty. It looked good for him, for the cop that was getting me, like, "Yeah, we got this military guy, active duty, bodybuilder," and I think he thought that I was, like, some kind of drug dealer, like, some kinda steroid dealer, which was actually really funny. I was
That's
like,
a small package to be
I know.
drug
Well, the
dealing.
guy was completely clueless. He had no idea about anything about steroids. He didn't know anything, so it was kind of funny. I was like, "You have no idea what you're even talking about, dude." But he really initially, he did think, "Oh, maybe I was a dealer." I was like, "Okay, yeah," like, I'm in the Coast Guard. I don't even really associate with people. Like, I was working, I wasn't really in the local gyms. Like, I was kind of on base a lot, so I thought that was funny. But so that's kinda what happened. That was a whole thing that went down, and it kinda changed, my I guess, the course of my life, I guess, 'cause then after that happened, I had to go to court, all these things. Of course, lost my job, career, um, but then kinda got through it, and then, a few years later, I decided to start Iron Hawaiian.
Mm.
And so once because I kinda made up my mind. I just felt like, well, at this point, um, why am I gonna do some random job or, why am I gonna work for someone else? I said, I'm just gonna somehow make this happen, somehow do something that I love, that I enjoy, and just make it happen, regardless. And hey, even if in my mind, I was like, even if I'm just getting by, paying my rent or whatever, like, I don't care. At least I'll be doing something that I like, that I enjoy, and then I don't have a direct boss, telling me what I can and cannot do. So I just kind of like that idea. And that's what I did. I just went for it. And I think it made it easier too, as far as because I knew I was gonna have these charges and convicted felon, because believe it or not, you get caught with steroids, it's a felony. So yeah, so you go with a bottle. It's different now though. They did change a lot of things. A lot of people are doing TRT, so it's not like a thing anymore. Back in 2006, 2007, they were really going after people still. But now it's kind of changed. So yeah, so then that's what happened. I started this gym from bare bones, really didn't have much, and kind of just built it to what it is now. Started around 2011. And, I was lucky because I had a friend that helped me out, that helped me kinda get a space, and it was, that to me, that was good. Like, I mean, you wanna do it on your own. I think I wanted to do it on my own, but then also it's hard to do it on your own. There's always somebody there, right?
Mhm.
There's maybe a friend or somebody there that's kinda willing to help you. You still have to do the work. I still have to put in the work and do everything, but he was willing to help me, and that was a huge help to get me started, having that space. Because here in Hawaii, I mean, and this all happened here back in Hawaii, because I was gone, like I said, I was gone for a while. When I came back home, I got stationed back here, and I was here for almost a year, and then all this stuff happened.
So what got you
So
into bodybuilding? Was it out of high school, before Air Force Coast Guard thing, or how did
yeah,
that
yeah,
happen?
it was really young. I mean, I was probably like, honestly, I think I was like 8th grade,
Okay.
7th, 8th grade. Yeah, there was a teacher, and he was actually, I think he was the special ed teacher, and his classroom was like on the end of the building. They they kind of put him away from everybody else, but he had like a little weight set in there. And me and my friends, we kind of walk around, and I remember seeing it, and then I kind of played around with it. He would let us mess around with it. I remember just kind of messing around, doing curls, whatever. I didn't know much. And then 8th grade summer, wait, summer to high school. So summer before ninth grade, I was gonna go play football. And so me and my cousin and my other friend, we were like, we gotta lift weights, that was the thing. Gotta lift weights. So we bought one of those like cement sets, the vinyl
Yeah.
coated
Yeah, I remember those. Was
big
that those
25
Joe
pound
Weider ones?
plates. Yeah, I think it was Joe Weider probably, and it had, like, the bar was, like,
Skinny one.
cheesy bar, and
Yeah.
we got that, we got a bench, and then it was kinda like a whole, like, starter kit
Yeah.
because it came with, like, a chart with, like, workouts, like barbell curls, shoulder presses, bench press, like it's just all these different things. And you just so we didn't know what we were doing. Because honestly, what's funny is it wasn't like we had any adults there showing us because none of them worked out.
Yeah.
This was like the early, this like 82, you know? Like a lot of the adults, honestly, like their parents, they weren't working out. So
Mhm.
they didn't know. So we just looked at the chart and then I started reading. I started getting into reading and just kind of like finding magazines, reading books to try and learn how to train. And that was the big thing was we would just follow this chart and then we lifted for summertime, went into high school. And then of course when you're in high school, there's an actual gym. So we would train with the team. And then that's kind of when I started to see like, oh, look at this. This is the whole setup. Started to learn how to do squats and all the other big stuff, you know. And then I joined the real gym probably when I was like 16. It's called the Brett's Gym. So it was on the east side. So I joined that. And that was when I really kind of got into it. Cause then now I'm around a bunch of people who like really love lifting. It wasn't
Mhm.
for sports. A lot of these guys were power lifters, bodybuilders. So and then from there, yeah, I got the bug. I mean, I was like hooked. I think I was really honestly by the time I was like 16, 17, I was really hooked. Like I really
So
wanted
at
to train
16, 17, who was your inspiration?
as far as pro bodybuilders and
Mhm.
stuff. I it's funny. I thought Tom Platz was
Okay.
amazing. He's very imbalanced, right? Crazy legs. I love the legs though. Like I had a thing about the legs. I was like, man, that's super cool. And I remember training my legs really hard. Because I always felt like that was such a demanding thing to train over everything else. So I put a lot of effort into it, you know. And then it's funny because my legs actually, at a younger age, my legs were actually overdeveloped from upper body. Like, it took me a few years to get my upper body to balance out. But I like Platts. Um, I thought, I mean, Haney was good, you know, like back then. Lee Haney, Samir Bannout was another guy.
Mhm.
Was like he was like I liked his physique, just the look of it. His back was crazy. There was some other guys, Rich Gaspari. I thought Rich Gaspari was super cool because he was very, again, not the best body, but the guy just came in shredded. I was just like, it was very impressive for that time. And then even Sean Ray, really young, one of the younger pros at the time. And I was like, man, this guy looks good. Like amazing structure, amazing shape. You know, he just looked very pleasing up on stage. So like all those guys. I thought those guys were
So
like
as
really
far
good.
as your own personal physique and your training and all of that, did you take a little bit of everything that you liked from all of these individuals and kind of was like made your own?
Yeah, I mean, those guys were kind of the earlier guys. And I kind of looked at what they were doing and I was just trying to like feel it out and figure out what to really do. But the guy that really inspired me or really was like, oh, I want to do this program and fall Dorian Yates. Like
Okay.
Dorian Yates was like for me, because he came out in like 92, I think 90, 91, 92. So that was the guy I was like, whoa, like this guy is crazy development hardness, just so like again, probably wasn't the most appeasing physique on stage, but I was just crazy amazed on how big and how lean he got. And so I kind of follow that because the Mike Menser, a lot of guys might not know, but Mike Menser, he does this heavy duty style training. And that's kind of where Dorian got it from. And then I really like that style of training because basically your workouts aren't very long. It's very high intensity workouts and they're not long. You're not in the gym for 2 hours. And I used to do that. I used to train. I used to think because I had Arnold's encyclopedia. I thought, oh, 2 hour workouts, and I would. And I remember just not. I don't know. Like I wasn't growing a lot. I looked pretty good, but I just wasn't getting bigger. I probably wasn't eating enough too because I was in the gym for a long time, and then I was missing meals and stuff. You know what I mean? And so after when I started to switch over and I started to train kind of less, I guess, like 4 days a week, an hour each time, and just really push it that's when I noticed, like, I could see I was getting better results doing that, and so I just kinda stuck with that, instead of the standard, high sets, like 30 sets for a body part and 2.5 hour workouts and stuff. It works for some guys, but me, I did try that, and I just felt tired doing it. It just kinda was like it was just kind of a lot for me, so I decided to go the other route, and I actually liked it a lot.
So through all of the training, Tell me about your experience through your gear exposure. How did that come about?
That was in the '80s. So growing up here, um, it was interesting. Like I think initially I didn't know much about it, right? I knew I had heard about steroids, but I didn't know a whole lot about it. And then one of my friends was like, "Hey, there's the farm place, so you could go to the feed store, you
In
know."
Waimanalo?
Oh well, there's a or in Kaneohe, in Kaneohe, it might still be there. Actually, no, probably there. It's not the same name, but anyway, so you could go there and they would sell bottles of tests. Now, it's so funny. So my friend's like, "Hey," because they use them for
Horses.
cockfighting though,
Okay, yeah,
and
that too.
maybe dogs, whatever. And I was like, "Oh," again, I didn't know much about it. So my friend, we go down there, he gets a bottle. It was like 25 bucks for like the bottle, like a 10 cc bottle of tests. I get like 2 bottles. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with this thing because for one, again, it was a shot, and I'm like, here I am, I'm probably like 17, and I'm just like, "What do I do with this?" And I think I was always a pretty cautious kid, like, I wouldn't just do stuff just to do it, like, I need to kinda know what I'm doing, and so, um, I had that bottle, like, I remember I had it for months, and I never used it, didn't know how to get syringes anyway, didn't
From
know how
that
to
same feed store.
from the same and then I decided I think somebody else that I knew was looking for some. I think maybe it was one of the older guys at the gym, and I was like, "Hey, I got a bottle. You wanna buy it?" And I think I made some money off of it, I sold it for like 50 bucks or something, I don't know. And I was like, "Okay, cool," because I was like, "What am I gonna do with this thing? I don't know what to do with it." And so I ended up selling it, and then I think the first thing I ever took, it was orals. It
Which
was
one?
D-ball. So it was the blue. See, the stuff I took was the original stuff.
Was it the blue hearts or just blue
It was
tabs?
the blue
The
tabs.
blue hearts are the
It
shit.
was
If you
Siba.
ever find those.
Siba, I think was the brand, Siba. But it was blue. And then I took Nilevar, which was Anavar, but it was Nilevar. It was like a European version of it.
Okay.
Again, I knew little because there was, and I still have this book. Oh, I should bring it up. Um, it was a little handbook that I had bought, and this was back in like 1987,
Is it the
88.
anabolic Bible and it has that
No, no, no,
spiral?
no. This is before that.
Oh,
This is
okay.
before that. It's small. It's like a brown pamphlet, literally. And I think I bought it from was it Heavy Metal Barbell back in the day in the 80s?
When it was on Wildlife Avenue, Heavy Metal Barbell,
Mm.
when
Wait, what
Harlan
about the one
and
on
whatever,
Kapahulu?
oh,
It
yeah,
was on
okay, yeah.
Kapahulu. Yeah, it was it Heavy Metal Barbell? I think it was Heavy Metal
Who owned
Barbell.
it then?
It was on Kapahulu. This is like 87, dude. Um, I forget who owned it. I know that um Paula Suzuki, the
Yes,
bodybuilder,
bodybuilder, powerlifter.
yeah, she was there, and I think it was her boyfriend was there. I think he might have owned it, but there was a book they would sell, and they were the only place that I even could find this stuff. There was a book, like an anabolic steroid book, and I still actually have this book.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
I'll bring it out next time. I just kept it all these years, but it had very basic information on steroids. Very simple. It was like about I don't know 40 pages maybe. But it was good. It was enough. It was enough for somebody who knew nothing to at least get some information. And it had all the stuff, it had all the ones that you wanted, it had all the basic ones in there. So I got that book and I was like reading this book and I read it like 100 times. I memorized the whole thing. So I knew everything about every single compound. I knew it. And then that's kind of how I was like, okay, I'm gonna start. I remember starting with orals at first, just because again, I didn't know how to get syringes, and I was probably scared too. I think I was just like, I don't want to inject myself. You know what I mean? I didn't know what that entailed. I had no experience with that. So, but then, so I did that for a little while. Then the first time I ever injected myself, I was pretty young. I mean, I didn't inject myself. I had my friend do it. One of my friends, I'm like, hey man, can you do this for me? And I think I was probably like 19, something like that. I was pretty young. Wouldn't advise, young guys to do this, but hey, whatever. I was doing it. So, and it was like equipoise actually. So
Okay,
funny.
yeah.
Well,
because again, I know no better. You use test first. That was as a base, but they had equipoise, and this is the one that had the horse on it,
Yep.
and it was 50 milligrams per cc. So that's like really low dose, right? You know what I mean? Nowadays you can get like 300 mg per
300.
cc, but these were 50s. But this was the big 50 mil bottle, and so all these things that they were all vet drugs, right? They're all vet anabolics because that's what you could get here. All the feed stores would bring it in, right? So, and I got this from one of my other buddies. So, and a lot of guys that I was getting it from, I hung out with a lot of powerlifters because I actually powerlifted for a few years before I got into bodybuilding.
Mhm.
Because the gym I was at, that's what they were doing. So I just said, "Oh, let me try it." And then a couple years of doing it, I kind of realized, not really my thing. I did well though, but I was like, that's not really my thing. I'd rather do the bodybuilding. I think bodybuilding is just more appealing to me. And so that's kind of what happened. But I knew a lot of the guys and they were able to get a lot of gear, right? So
Naturally.
I just that was my connection really was powerlifters at first, not really bodybuilders that were getting it from me. I didn't really because back then bodybuilders were funny. It was very cliquish and it's not like how it is now. I mean, now people can just go on the internet and order it. But back then you had to know somebody and a lot of it was bodybuilders. And if you weren't kind of in that clique or they felt like you weren't at a certain level, they wouldn't talk to you about it. They wouldn't give you advice, they wouldn't help you. You just had to kind of figure it out. And that's kind of what they did. And then when you got better and when you started to look good or you're then you could kind of be part of that group now. Like, oh, okay. Because they feel like, oh, this guy is good. So that's kind of how it was. But I had the powerlifting guys, so I was good until I got better. So
Well, the powerlifting gave you a good base to start with,
oh yeah,
right?
no, it
So
did.
good foundation, you
And
know.
and the powerlifters back then, honestly, the powerlifters took way more gear than the bodybuilders did, to be honest. Powerlifters were loading up, boy, let me tell you. They were taking some gear. They were taking some good gear. They were strong. Those were some strong guys. In the 80s here in Hawaii, there was a lot of strong guys.
Powerlifting was a lot larger in the 80s than
It was
bodybuilding,
big.
if I
It
could
was big
recall.
in the 80s. Yeah, over here in Hawaii. Oh, and some strong guys, like crazy strong
Because
guys.
I remember going to a couple of meets all over the place, whether it
Yeah.
be Gold's Gym or what was it, International before.
Yeah, there
Um,
was.
you know, couple of YMCA's or they would have them at their local high schools and stuff like it
Mhm.
used to be
It was
huge
big. They
before.
would have meets all over, yeah,
Yeah.
and it'd be filled, like, people would go and strong guys, yeah, I mean, it was fun,
So how old were you when you did your first show?
19.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you said you had 30 shows of more or less under your
about
belt.
there, yeah.
Wow.
Total, yeah, a lot of shows, but, yeah, so, I mean, when I was a teenager, I think I only did 3. I did 3 shows as a teenager. I waited till I was 19 because I always wanted to do teen shows, but I always felt like I wasn't ready. So like when I was like 17, 18, when I hit 19, I was like, oh, I gotta compete because this is it. After I hit 20, I can't do these shows. And I wanted to do some teen shows. So I did the oh man, Mr. Aloha State.
Okay, I remember those. Yeah.
I was novice though, and I came in third. I beat one guy, which was cool. There was like 4 of us on stage, but I beat one guy. Hey, I was happy. I was like, that guy was a grown
You
man.
didn't come
I
dead
was
last.
19.
Yeah.
No, I beat one guy. So, so I did that, and then I did it was the teen Hawaiian Classic,
Mm-hmm.
the teen division.
And that used to be at the Blazel Center concert halls, right?
This one was at the Ilikai Hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, back in the day. And I came third in that one. I beat a couple guys in that one too. And then I did a AAU one. I forget what it was called. Oh, it was like Mr. Teenage Hawaii AAU or something like that. And I got third in that one. And that was interesting. I mean, I beat a bunch of people in that actually. I mean, to get third place. There was I don't know, it was about 10 guys in there or something like that. So it was kind of like we all just were in one class.
So where you started from in comparison to where you are now, would you change anything?
Oh, you mean
If
in
you
my
could do it all
life?
over again, would you change anything?
Probably. I mean, why wouldn't I, right? I mean, if I know, no, I my life's good, like where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, with the knowledge that I have,
Mm.
there's things that I would probably change, a few things that I would change to probably enhance my life now, make it better now. But then, again, it's like you learn from the mistakes, right? So doing all those mistakes or doing what I did, I learned from it and then got better,
Well, that's why now you
improved.
have a lot of competitors, and they could learn from your experience, or
Mhm.
you could help guide them into a um, healthier, safer path.
Yeah. Yeah. And I learned a lot just from reading and just kind of like doing it on my own, right? So,
A lot of people don't take the time to even do that.
no, well, especially nowadays, because I think there's just all this information that's like one that's on the internet, and two, everybody's got information out, right? Every single
But they're
person
too lazy to
has
go get it.
information. Yeah. Yeah. So, and everybody has their opinion, right? Of wherever they're getting it from, whatever information that they're getting, they're coming back and saying, "Oh yeah, this is what you do, and this is what works." And you got the other guy over here saying another thing. So it's like, okay, who's right, who's wrong? Who knows? Um, I know what works, but hey, everybody's different. So
Everybody is different, and it's kind of more anecdotal or your own personal experience with what works or
Mhm.
does not work.
Exactly,
Doesn't mean that you could use it with the next guy.
exactly.
So
Yeah, I've always been very big open minded about bodybuilding as far as yeah, everybody's different. The body is constantly changing. You're getting older. Every year it changes. There's different variables
more
in your life.
information comes out. Yep.
Yep. And people's lifestyles are different, stress, different things, job changes, career, there's all these things that can change the outcome for your next prep. So you have to take that into consideration, right?
I mean, but considering everything that had happened to you from the past, had you not got busted with that
Yeah. Right.
box of steroids, we wouldn't have this right now.
Probably
So,
not. I
you
mean, to
know,
be honest, it's probably a 99% chance that we wouldn't have this.
that
The
was
reason why
supposed to
I
happen.
say that, yeah, the reason why I say 99% is because I would have done a 4-year tour here, and I think I would have still had 3 more years left actually before I hit 20. And I would have definitely probably stayed in another 5 years. I mean, like, I know that. I was already because I was getting promoted. I was fine. I was doing great. I probably would have stayed in at least another 5. Who knows? Maybe another 10. I don't know. I was doing good. So probably wouldn't have come back here. I would have left Hawaii for my next unit, and I would have probably just stayed in the mainland and just worked. Not to say I would always come back and visit and stuff, but obviously, as everyone knows, I mean, Hawaii is expensive. It's expensive. It's hard to buy property here. So of course, at the time I had a family, I would have just probably stayed where I was at and made that work, right?
Keep it
You know?
comfortable and
Exactly. Well,
safe.
yeah, exactly. If I'm there, I'm in a place already, I'm doing pretty good. Like it's hard to just get up and go, right?
Yeah, and I
So
mean that's the risk you take as well too, starting your own bit or just starting off on your own. I mean, like not to change the subject, but Jed, you're a former service member as well too. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey here.
Okay, so um, born North Carolina and
North Carolina.
moved all over because my dad was in the army. I've actually lived here in Hawaii longer than I've lived anywhere else. So I've been here, I think on my birthday will be 16 years.
wow.
So um, as far as getting into bodybuilding, that started when I was real young, really young. I had hit puberty late, so everybody was always bigger than I was. And I always got this concept, like I was always a fat kid. So I always thought if I looked better, I'd get more respect and get, things that everybody else had just by
The
looking better.
ladies too.
Yes, that
Mm, mm.
friends, recognition, clout, and it never happened, no matter how hard I lifted. But and then it's funny because I still have to battle that concept today. I still have to tell myself that I I have to not think about that because it still hits me. Like sometimes I'll think, well, I don't look good enough, and that's why this happens and that happens. This person acts like that towards me. It's a concept I still have in my head that I have a hard time dealing with.
Mm.
So, and if you guys know, I'm always trying to get leaner and dieting and stuff. I'm always eating structured and stuff. I have
Oh
a
yeah.
hard time loosening up because I have that fear
Oh yeah.
that if I get out of shape or if I backtrack, then people are going to think differently of me like that. And I have to constantly tell myself to get through that because
Mhm.
that's from me being a kid.
Right.
So what ended up happening was I hit puberty late My sophomore year of high school, I remember I blew up and people stopped picking on me. So I was like, well, I'm on the right track. So, and I wanted to play football. So I lifted for that a lot. Wasn't really into bodybuilding because Dorian Yates was big then. I thought he looked disgusting. And I was like, he was coming
you
out.
like him.
He was
I
coming
like
out. Ronnie was coming in.
Yeah.
And I was like, now who would want to look like these guys? And then I came across it was either a hammer strength or the old school muscle tick out with Jay Cutler. And I was like, if I could look like that, I'd be fucking bodybuilding tomorrow because he had a smaller waist then, the blonde hair, his quads were feathered. This dude looked ridiculous, right? So I was like, if I could look like that. And then I flipped. So like he pretty much is the reason I switched gear and from football to bodybuilding because that's when I saw that type of physique, I was like, that's what I would want to look like.
Yeah.
Of course, it never happened. But so I went all through high school, did pretty good in football, actually. Did pretty good. I had to because a lot of other kids were pretty talented. They could play other sports during the off season. The off season, I was in the gym. Summertime, I was at the track running wind sprints and stuff because I was always fat and out of shape. So I got the concept.
You were that
If
good.
I started earlier, I could play more because I'd be better. And eventually, it started happening because I played varsity all 4 years, only because not because I was good, but the varsity team would do 2-a-day practices, and I would go early and practice with them just to get reps. So when JV practice and started, and they tried to get me down, the coach was like, "He's been with us, he's staying here." And I played varsity all 4 years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Because I showed up early and practiced with them, he's like, "You're not going back down to JV because you've been here working with us the whole time." Now, I didn't play a fucking
Right,
snap,
I was gonna say.
but
But at
there
least it was
there was
cool.
me and one of my buddies. We both did, and we both got to stay on the team.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
but by the time I was a senior, I was all conference. I played center, long snapped. I was an all conference lineman.
Oh, nice.
Not big enough to go to college anywhere though with a scholarship. So I went further into the bodybuilding thing, so I wasn't playing football anymore. And then I stayed out of school for a couple years and I went to college and there I just fell off like drinking all the time. Like
Oh,
drinking so much, I stopped going to class. I
Mhm.
just woke up and was like, fuck it, I'm not
Wait,
going
how old were
anymore.
you?
Um,
Illegal drinking.
no,
weren't you?
no.
Illegal drinking.
I
just
didn't go to
kidding. I
college
don't
till I
care.
was 21.
Oh, so you were
I
already
was
in
20,
20s.
21
Oh,
years old.
see, yeah, I never got into really drinking a lot
Yeah.
ever, and maybe later I would drink more. But when I was that age,
Yeah.
I wasn't into it, man.
I
I was into
graduated at
just lifting.
17. I worked as a machinist at this apprenticeship. I was actually for that time and age, I was making decent money.
What was the reason why you think you got into like drinking and all that? I mean, why do you? Because you were lifting already, right?
Man, well, I
'cause it
mean, being
doesn't
from the
go
South, we know how
together.
to fucking party.
Well, yeah, but
And when I was losing weight, because when I first got to high school, I had hit like 260. And so I started dieting and losing weight. And actually, when my first year out of high school, I dropped 60 pounds. That was back when Xanadry and all the ephedrine
Oh,
products
yeah.
were
Oh
the
yeah,
shit,
the
right?
good stuff.
So I got pretty lean. I got down to 190. And being 17, you can still go out and drink and shit on the weekends and you can still lose
Yeah,
weight.
right,
So I had
right.
this pattern where I would diet hard, no carb through the week, and then I would go out on Saturday nights. And when I went to college, I was like, "Oh, you guys start drinking on Thursdays here?" So
Like,
I
thirsty,
I
thirsty.
gained all the weight back. And you guys have seen on my Instagram some of the pictures I posted with the long hair and the beard and stuff. I had put all that weight back on. I stopped lifting. I mean, I was like waking up and shotgunning beers and then walking into work.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was bad. So I stopped going to college. I stopped going to class and I failed out. And one of my buddies, we were at a party. One of my buddies told me he just signed up for the Navy.
Mm.
I can't remember if he told me that I should look into it or if I just said, no, that sounds like a good idea. And I called my dad. My dad's like, that's dumb. You're not going to do well. I
Oh,
said,
really?
yeah, because I mean, looking at me at that point in time, you easily could have said that.
Mm.
But I was doing nothing. I was living paycheck to paycheck in a apartment. The apartment was nice, but just drinking and going to work, and I had nothing going for me. So I was like, at least I can get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So I went to a recruiter. He looked at me and he's like, get the fuck out of here. I had hair down my back, beard. I was like flat gut, hairy as shit because I wasn't shaving back then. And it was a big BM and a CTM one. And they were like, dude, get the fuck out of here. And I said, all right, I'll be back. 3 months later, I showed up and they were like, they didn't even know I was the same person. I was 180 pounds. I was like, I knew how to get in shape.
Yeah.
Because I did it when I got to high school and I was reading, I was reading Flex and Muscle and Fitness and reading all these articles. And that's where muscular development, that's where I got all my initial information from and from guys in the gym that helped me out.
Yeah.
So I showed up and they measured my waist and they were like, okay, the next I think in like 6 months you'll leave. And then I remember I was at Lowe's Hardware. I was working there, and I got a call, and he was like, "Hey, man, they just moved it up. You can leave next week." And I said, "Get me the fuck out of here." So I was in Great Lakes,
Mhm.
and I did that,
Michigan,
and I got stationed. I went to Pensacola for A school. Then I came here to
Yeah.
Wahoo, right? So I was, and then I got back into partying and shit because being a sailor, that's what we do. It's Navy is fucking work hard, play hard. I love it. But I was still working out religiously and stuff, but I really wasn't getting a lot of results because in the off time we partied a lot and shit. But I started reading personal training books, and actually I helped a buddy in there win a contest when I was in there. I trained. He did one of the armed forces at Sharkey Theater, 2005 or 6, 7 around there,
Mm.
and he won. And he won his class. Some big jacked Marine won the overall. He couldn't help that. He was too small. But I started really getting back into bodybuilding like I was when I was in high school. So I said, man, I'm going to get out and start doing this start training people and get into this. This is what I want to do because out of, me being ADHD as shit, the one thing I cannot, the one thing I have never gotten tired of is going to the gym and reading and watching all the Mitsuru Okabe videos. I'd watch
Yeah.
those fucking things every day, like every Jay Cutler DVD I had,
Obsessed.
and I would just burn them out.
Obsessed. Yeah. No.
So I knew that was the path I needed to go.
Yeah.
So I got out, worked at GNC for a little bit, got my certs, went to Powerhouse, was there for like 6, 7 years, and came here.
Yeah.
Now, when I got out of the Navy, I stopped drinking. So that was 13 years ago because they'd put me on medication for anxiety, and we went to the Paradise Cup. That was when it was 2008. So he thought I was there guest posing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was when all the big names still came down. I don't know if that was. No. That was 2011. That was later on.
Actually, I remember that one.
2011
Yeah, I
because that was
remember
November
that.
2011.
That's right.
So he might have been at that one. But
I think it was.
I had 2 beers and the medication on it fucked me up, and I had to have a friend drive me home.
Oh.
So I said, "Oh, I guess I can't." And I, being a trainer, it's not like working at a hardware store where you can show up hungover. Like you can't do that being a trainer. So I stopped.
Yeah.
I was very surprised at how easy it was for me to quit. I got through 2 weekends and I was fine. I realized how much more shit I could do if I wasn't laying around fucking hungover all day.
Right.
True.
So I just stopped.
Smart.
So yeah, and then I went to Powerhouse, really learned how to hustle there because you kind of have to. Not saying it's a bad thing. But was over there for 6 or 7 years, and then I heard about your gym. I remember I came over. It was before it was. I told you I was going to start January 2nd. I came over that December, and I saw all the equipment from like back when I was a kid and shit. And I was like, oh, I got to come in here and work.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, and I mean, I've competed a few times and stuff, but nothing ever great became of it. The only thing I did was learn a lot that I used to help other people. I just, I think I've said a couple episodes ago, I had to deal with the fact that I'm just not built to bodybuild. Now I can get leaner, maybe can get a little bigger, but as far as like that freakish shit, I'll never get no matter how much shit I take.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a long-winded sums it up.
Yeah, man. Hey, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, you're here now.
Yeah. I love what I do. And coach, you guys next time here all day. I like doing it.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, but that's what I was saying earlier. Like I wanted to find something to do that I really love doing, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you're at work, but you're not really
Yeah,
at work.
find
right?
it and then figure out how to make that
Yeah,
profitable. I would not
exactly.
chase the money, chase the passion, and then figure out how to make that profitable for you.
That's the way to
I
go.
just
Yeah.
chase the passion.
Yeah.
not
Well,
making
you
money.
gotta give your story now because
I
It's a
would.
long-winded story.
well,
but
I
I'll cut
mean,
it
you
short.
got 7.5 minutes. Let's go. No, just kidding.
You got 30 seconds.
Yeah.
As far as myself, I grew up. My family, they were very. My dad didn't allow us to like. We didn't have cable TV. We didn't have no video games. We didn't have any of that shit. So we had to go outside and play. Only thing my dad would probably gift us is like bikes. That's how we got around. That's why I got big ass quads.
Oh,
Riding
really?
bike all the now my
Yeah.
whole family is like that too.
Oh,
But we
okay.
rode bike everywhere. So
Yeah.
my whole family is they're all very um athletically inclined, although
Mhm,
they never really took it far. We all just did it for fun,
mhm,
whether it be
mhm.
whatever it might be. Surf, bodyboard, exercise, weightlifting, whatever
Yeah.
it might be. So I was very familiar with exercise from when I was very young, probably seventh, no, yeah. What is third grade? How about there?
You were like 8,
Yeah.
maybe 8 years old. Yeah.
watching
Different.
Bruce Lee's. I don't know if you're familiar with the Kung Fu theater and Bruce
Oh
Lee,
yeah, I
like
love
all
it.
that old
I
school,
used
like
to. I
all of
was
the
into it. Yeah.
all of the exercising that he would
I
do.
did
Yeah.
karate when I was younger too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
I was into. I did.
exactly.
I think it was in the '80s. I think every kid did karate too.
So, you try to emulate that a little bit, thinking like if you
Yeah.
have that same mindset of exercise that you can be like a freaking kung fu master,
Right.
didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
I played sports my entire life, whether it be soccer, softball, and whatever. I did
Yeah.
pal boxing from about. See, this is where it all kind of led me to where I was. I was a rotten kid. I grew up with my grandmother's family, my mom's mom, and her youngest son was into martial arts, into boxing, into like all of that stuff. So he was just like, all right, if you're gonna be here and you're gonna exercise with me. So because I was um they didn't have like much to do, so I ended up exercising a lot with him. So it just became life after that. Even
Okay.
going into high school, like how you did, you kind of like I was like, oh yeah, a little bit of weights, and you tinker until you're like, all right, you can take up a weightlifting class for elective, and then you're
Right.
you're smashing your numbers, right? And you're thinking, "Fuck, this is pretty cool. I want more."
Yeah.
So then
Exactly.
I started working part time at I think it was already called Gold's Gym, Kapilani, the 24 Fitness.
Yep. Yep.
So I grew up seeing that even throughout like high school, all the powerlifting mates that would come through and all the powerlifters. I seen Paula walk through one day and I was like,
Oh
oh
yeah. She
damn,
was jacked.
she's
Yeah. She
huge.
was big.
And then that was around the same time that I'm sure you know, she used to be a judge before Becky Rampy.
Yeah. I knew her.
She walked in and I was like, damn, that
She
body,
looked good. Yeah.
that body. I could maybe I could only wish I could like get that good. I mean, I was still teen and stuff. Um, so she was somebody I kind of looked up to my whole way through.
Mm.
Um, even through after graduating high school, my mom gave me the ultimatum. She's all like, you either work full time, you go to school full time, you do both, or you get out of the house. Like, damn, I gotta buy me some time. So
Mhm.
I I left to the military, and in the
Yeah.
military, I didn't like how Jed was saying, you work hard, play hard, and I
Right.
kind of didn't get too caught up in that. I still like the whole exercising, and so I did that. Whatever free time we
What branch was it?
air. So I actually joined the Air National
Air
Guard.
National. Okay.
Join the Air Guard. So every free time I had, I made sure I got my workout in first, and then I went to go play.
Okay.
I was still a slob. At least I know I was a strong slob.
Yeah. 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 Well, I
So I
mean,
kept on packing on muscle and
you
stuff like
you were
that.
stronger than like the other girls in the around. Like you could
Yeah,
see you were. Yeah. So you had that strength
yeah,
going
because
into it.
I've
Yeah.
been doing it for what my whole adolescence into high school, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until I saw it was an armed forces at Wichita Falls, Texas, and it was a armed forces. I'm like, yeah, I,
Oh.
I can do that.
Hmm.
And that's when I started to clean it up a little. I came back home, and then there was like I think I was still 19. So I would think I could have, I think I did one show. It was at Midpack, Midpack Institution. What is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Mid pack. Yeah.
Yeah, it was at Midpack, and it was at the time her name was Robin Nee.
Oh, I know Robin. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
I'm
her.
like,
Yeah.
damn, I gotta go against this lady.
Robin. Yeah. Yeah. She's good. She ended up turning
Yeah.
pro too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
sure
She's
did.
good.
But
Yeah.
she
She's
was
good.
another person. She's a good family friend of
Yeah.
ours. And she was
Okay.
another lady that I looked up to growing up bodybuilding. And I was like, wow, her body's
Yeah.
awesome. So I did that show. Of course, I got my ass handed to me. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but that
Yeah.
I got bit by the bug. I did I don't know, a Paradise Cup. I
You
still
did.
didn't know what I was doing. I look like shit. And where I'm going with this is like a lot of my shows, I didn't do very well at all. I'm thinking like, nah, I think I got it. But then until you actually stand up on stage next to the other competitors, you're like, damn, maybe I should have dieted a little harder. Maybe I should have tried a little harder on the cardio. But it was fun for me at the time doing it. But I came back even better. Every showing came back a little better with different objectives, different goals.
Yeah.
And I at least met the criterias of me meeting those, initial goals. At least
Yeah.
I got better in every show. Um, But then with all of the information that I've gathered doing all of these shows, yeah, I gave it a shot competing at a couple of state shows here, went to nationals. Every national show, I got better and better from sixth, fourth. What did I place? Yeah, sixth, fourth, and then I won my pro card.
Okay.
Um, so like every experience got better, and with all of that knowledge, like now I I'm glad that I'm able to take the knowledge that I know and help out other people that are around us. You know, it became a hobby to help other people as well too, because I know how shitty I looked, how terrible I look. I'm like, I never want that for anybody.
Mm,
So it became a passion of mine to want to help people to do better,
yeah.
because I wouldn't want them to feel like how I felt on my come up. So
Yeah.
that's where this passion came from.
That's good. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you obviously you don't compete anymore. Like, when did you decide? When did you retire from competing?
Actually, one of my biggest goals was to just get my pro card. I know I wasn't gonna do anything about it or with it or be like,
Okay.
oh, I'm gonna monetize off of this. I'm gonna be the next influencer. I ain't any of that. My I'm not about trying to push out videos or content every day to get likes and whatever, all of that stuff. I just let whatever happen organically. As far as getting the pro card, I knew it was a temporal marker. It was a goal. Um, and for my second to the last show at nationals and my pro card, I coached myself through it. So that's something that I could be proud of. I mean, I had a lot of people helping me, giving me a second look, like, hey, maybe you should tweak
Okay.
this posing a little bit here. Maybe you should grow your glutes a little bit more, or, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Include these
That's
exercises that might
helpful.
be helpful. So it takes a lot of people. It takes a village. And I'm glad that there's places like here or like some of the other places where people are very kind enough to help, especially the ones that came before me. As far as getting the pro card and doing something with it, well, unfortunately, that's when the whole 2020 thing happened, and
Hmm.
I knew, like I mentioned before at the other show, it wasn't gonna make me money
Yeah.
unless I really like how you guys was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a trainer. I've never thought of doing personal training for money. I mean, sure, the opportunity is there, but I have a full-time job,
Right.
so it was still a hobby. It's still like a passion project for me to help everybody. I never really took the leap to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go all in because I love to do this thing that much. And maybe, that's something for me to explore later on as well too.
Hmm.
Um, I never looked at it as like, oh, I'm gonna be a tier one. Yeah, probably not. Or even a tier two or
Pro.
a tier two pro. Competing in masters, like I have no shame in my game saying that I'm gonna compete in masters, like because the way that the bodybuilding has developed now, it's just crazy. I don't think I could compete in an open division. That's too
Yeah.
wild for me, especially after all the injuries that I have.
Yeah.
I'm yeah, that's too far out of sight for me to even fathom thinking about. Um, well, 2020 happened, and I'm very well aware of things that are going on around the world. And I was like, I got to pivot. I got to concentrate on something else. So I really dove deep into like um, investing, finances. Things that are happening on the geopolitical scale. Speaking of, and politics. I mean, we in America with with I don't know if you guys watched the presidential debate the last week. That was a mess. So that's a different
That was
subject
pretty
of
bad. Yeah.
discussion. Yeah. But I,
Yeah.
I know I still love this sport so much that I continuously feed my brain, feed my mind with
Mhm.
information, whether it be posing or gear use or nutrition or better ways of sharpening your sword in the
Yeah.
sport, not just for me, but for people that I could help as well too.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
That's awesome. It's great. Yeah. I mean, everybody, we all have our own little journeys here, huh?
Mhm.
So it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, and I still enjoy training. I don't train like how I used to. I really changed it a lot. Um, Definitely I go just, I mean, it's not super structured anymore. I just kind of get in there. I do what I feel like I want to do on that
Yeah.
day and feels good. Some days I'm like, I don't feel like it. I don't do it. So
But you still look great just for
yeah,
just doing enough. For like as far as
maintenance.
myself
Yeah.
and my injuries, I do rehab stuff and I try to do as much as I can. It's still fun. I still love this stuff,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I have all this equipment, so
Yeah,
got to use it.
certainly.
Right. I mean, it is fun. I like just feeling good, feeling in shape. It
Hmm.
feels good. You know what I mean?
So
Uh,
currently as well too, like we mentioned before, you do jujitsu and
yeah.
this. So is the passion for jujitsu just as intense as your bodybuilding once was before? Or is that just like,
Mm,
oh, that's fun. That's
no.
cool.
It's different. It's Jiu-jitsu is definitely for me, it's definitely like a real hobby
Mm,
where I don't there was never any aspirations of like really trying to compete in it,
okay.
or anything like that. It was more just I just wanted to learn, wanted to do something that was fun, which it's hard, but it's fun, and I kind of like that. It's challenging. And then there is a competition side to it when you're in training, you're kind of competing with the other guy. You're not competing necessarily for a medal or anything, but you're in class and you guys are training together and you can kind of go easy or you can, hey, you want to try and go harder. Yeah, let's go hard, and then you can kind of see where you're at. And that's kind of what I like about it is there's no pressure to be great or anything. It's just learn and just get better. And that's kind of what I like about it. And it's something that you could just keep doing,
Oh yeah.
as you get older. And you're always learning. And so I feel like that part for me was great. Just constantly learning different things and finding different things about it. And yeah, and bodybuilding, like I said, the passion for bodybuilding was crazy. I was obsessed, obviously, but I had a lot of goals as far as competing, right? So jujitsu is a hobby, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like it. I definitely study it a lot. I watch different videos. I watch guys doing things, but it's not the same level for me. It's just something that I enjoy doing.
But you're still a student to the sport, whether it be jujitsu or bodybuilding or improving
Yeah.
yourself some way, somehow getting
Yeah.
better.
Always trying to
Yeah.
improve yourself, right?
So there
Yeah.
when I was I didn't mention this, but when I was competitive boxing, um one of the pros there told me whether it be boxing or bodybuilding or like whatever it is that I'm engaged in, once I think I know it all, um I'm done in that sport already. When I
Yeah.
think I know it all and there's nothing more for you to learn, you're done in that sport already.
Probably. I mean, the passion maybe. Well, you can become a coach, right? Maybe. But as far as a competitor, is that what you're saying? You're done as far as a competitor.
No, being a student to anything. So like
Oh.
I have people that I help, my friends,
Mm.
you have clients. Like Jed and I talked about this a little bit earlier. Like you want to help your client so much. You have that passion to help them to do well. You try to give them a prescription of whatever it is to do, type exercise, type cardio, food to eat. And they're like, if they come with you like with a shit attitude, like, oh yeah, 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 or they know it. I mean, how do you handle that?
Um he's laughing. I'm like, well, I mean, if somebody thinks they know it all, then I'm like, okay, cool. Then you don't really need me. Like, what do you need me for? I mean, you know it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
uh do it on your own, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I look at it. It's interesting because there's people who will come to you who will kind of act like that, but then yet still want you to help them.
Mm.
And it's interesting. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you have this attitude that you know all these things, but then yet you still need help, right? I'm like, okay. And then the other thing, because me and Jed was talking about this the other day, was like comparing, like I don't like that. Like if somebody had a coach before me and then they go to me and then they're like comparing what I'm doing. And now that's fine. Like you can compare it. Like, oh, I noticed you do this. My other coach did this. That's fine. But when you're comparing in a sense of, I almost want to say, kind of in a negative way, like, maybe you're telling somebody else, oh, yeah, well, my other coach was doing this. And man, I looked really good a month out. But this coach here, he doesn't do that. And I don't know if I look ready. See, that kind of stuff to me, it's like, is it really the coach or is it you? You know,
So do you
are
feel
you the
like
problem?
they're
Or the
undermining you?
coach? A little bit, because they're unless I'm okay, if because sometimes there are coaches that just don't do a great job.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe that happens to people sometimes. And then, yeah, they kind of got screwed. Like, yeah, you had a good coach over here. This coach wasn't really doing what they said they're going to do. And you didn't look that great. Okay. But I don't know. I mean, you can't, I don't know. Like I said, I don't always put it on the coach because as the person that's doing the show, I think, especially if it's your first show, you're not going to have any idea, right? If you've done a show before, you had a coach before, and you feel like this coach isn't doing you right, maybe contact your old coach and say, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And maybe tell them what's going on, or contact somebody. If you really feel like you're not getting what you want out of it, like maybe because again, every coach is different, and some people do things that may not seem like it's going to work very well, and you're like, "Well, my coach never did any of that," but this coach if you did your research on that coach, like, if you know who they are, you should trust that, hey, this person knows what he's doing, Unless you just kind of went on a limb and just grabbed somebody that you had no idea about, then maybe that person doesn't know. You know what I mean? I mean, you kind of want somebody who has maybe a background and you've seen what they've done. So that gives you an idea. And then you can kind of trust that person in a sense, right? Like, I know this person has brought people to the stage and they've all looked good, or most of them look good. So again, it comes down to trusting, right? And if you can't trust your coach and fully trust, then I think that you're not going to probably do that well because you need to really trust that this person's going to bring you in and not even really, again, you can question, you can ask questions, but
Yep.
question in a sense of, you know, is this right? Is this what they're doing? Is that the right way to do it? Should I do this? Like those kind of questions, those probably aren't good. You should be like, yeah, my coach told me to eat these things. He knows what he's doing. I'm going to eat this. This is my diet plan. I'm going to follow it. He told me to do this cardio. I'm going to do this cardio. Not run to other people and say, he told me to do 45 minutes. You think that's kind of a lot on this? People do that kind of stuff, right? And that's not specific. I'm not using a specific case for
I don't know. A
myself
lot of people
on
do
that
that.
one.
A lot of people do that.
But yes, but that people will do that. They'll start to, and then and that for me is a huge
Yes. Too many
problem.
hands in a cookie
Now
jar.
they have too many
Yes.
people, right? You've asked 5 different people, and again, now you're getting in your head, right?
Yeah. Jed, did you have
Getting in
something
your
to
head.
add on to that?
Yeah, I've had people. I've done both sides of that equation. Where somebody will come to me and their last contest, they've looked really good. Like, okay, what'd you guys do last time? Let's look at it because maybe it wasn't the diet and training that you left this guy. Maybe he was a dick or you guys didn't get along.
Right.
So, but 95% of the time, that's not the case. And if there were training, like, well, my coach used to this much, my response is, I don't give a shit. Obviously, he wasn't that great because now you're with me, so you need to worry about what I'm having you do.
Mhm.
I've had to say that a few times because a lot of people they still talk about their ex coach and what he did and
Yeah,
what
the
they did. And I'm
ex,
like, I
the
don't
ex.
give a shit.
Yeah.
Because I've seen your photos and you look like crap. So we're not doing that this time. So it just depends. Like I've had to learn when I first started doing this job, I did everything one way with this was one with that situation.
I remember.
Train everybody same way. I can't do that. Especially I told you, I got a mixed pot of people. I got
People got different personalities.
yeah,
And
some people just
characteristics.
want to train. They don't give a shit what they look like, and some people want to compete, and I have to like adjust to each client.
Yeah, Jed. Because
Yeah.
I remember Jed would I would get some of his clients actually.
Which
'Cause
one?
well, Stephanie, because
Oh,
what would no,
whatever.
there was a few see. Well, because the thing is, the Jed, well, and I think when he first came here, he was kind of like very much like you said, he was kind of like, very serious. And he felt like, well, if you're not doing it this way, then if you're not really going to be dedicated, then I don't want to deal with it. And that's kind of how he was.
I had good
And
intentions, but it
no,
wasn't
good
the
intentions,
best.
but you
Yeah.
were like, you're either going all in or I'm not doing it. And I would tell him, hey man, not everybody wants to do that. You're here to help people, but you're also here to make a living. And if somebody doesn't want to go all in, then that's fine. You
Yeah.
just train them how they want to be trained. And you get paid for it. Like, hey, you're still helping them. This is what they want, so just go to that level. But yeah, there was. I mean, there was. Well, there was one client that did come to me that was like, I don't
Not that
think we
guy.
don't really click. She's like, we don't
Yeah.
really click. And then I was like, okay. And she's like, can I train with you? I was like, sure, no problem.
This
So,
was pre-psychedelic Hodge. I
yeah.
was still like uptight
You
and
know, I
shit.
remember. Yeah.
This is pre-mushroom Hodge.
Oh man, yeah.
Not as
So
loose
it
now.
was.
Ego death.
But
Yes.
I knew exactly what she was talking about. I mean, she said it real quick. I was like, yeah, I know. Because you look at him, he's just standing there like this in between sets. You know, he's just like he's not happy. So I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
look very intimidating when you're sitting at like, the tables. You just are so intense. Like nobody wants to say hi to you, or it's like you just
See, I don't notice that at all.
that's okay. You're socially awkward. That's cool.
wow.
It takes a little bit to warm up to that guy. It's
It
cool.
does.
No, I think
Uh,
communication is very, very, very essential. Like I know a lot of people, even for the ones that I helped.
yeah,
I'm not picking on anybody specifically, but if you got your little quirks, your little like whatever, I don't give a F what you do. All you need to do is show up when you're supposed to. Like, are you
yeah,
showing up with your diet, your posing, your exercise? If you still are, let's just say, drinking alcohol, which you shouldn't be doing, or like smoking weed, like I don't care what you do behind closed doors. Just as far as my expectations of you, are you giving your 100% to perform, or what are you doing behind closed doors that I should know about, because it's deleterious to your end goal, whether it be competition or have the specific look. So
hmm, yeah.
everybody, yeah, the communication is huge. Like, how do you help somebody if they're not telling you what they're doing? So say,
Oh, that happens a lot.
right,
I mean, somebody they're not. You're training them for a show, and they don't change. You know,
right.
and you're like, and you're adjusting things, and they're just not changing.
Me and him was just talking about that. Continue.
And
I'd like to hear your perspective.
okay, well, they're cheating. I mean, they're let's be honest. I mean, unless they have a medical issue or something going on, they're pretty much cheating. Yeah, they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. They're not following that plan exactly. Because come on, I mean, doing it long enough, like the body's going to make some type of changes, especially if you're adjusting your diet or your cardio. You're doing all these things. You're going to see something a little bit. And when somebody you go through weeks and weeks and nothing's happening, then there's
No
something
matter
that
what you do.
there's something that they are doing on their end and they're not telling you. And I'm a total believer in that. Like I'm a total believer in that. So again, unless they have some medical issue with their metabolism or something, I don't know.
Something neurodivergent that's wrong
Yeah,
with him.
yeah, there you go. But in reality, I feel like, yeah, no, I don't really. I think that they're probably not following the plan. So
Do you let them? So say they're like getting ready for a show. More or less about 6 weeks out. I know whether or not at about 6 weeks out if they're gonna make it, like how
yeah,
show ready, stage
yeah.
ready. Do you just let them compete anyway, even if they look
If they're
not?
not ready,
Yeah,
um, I think what I do actually, I've never really had anybody that was really bad. I mean, I've had a couple people that I knew they weren't ready, but a lot of that was because they were going through a lot of things happen on their prep and they cheated and they even told me about it. They even told me about all that stuff. And I was kind of like, hey, do you want to do the show? Maybe you should pull out, like I gave them the option and they put in all these months of training and they still want to do it. I was like, okay. But I always say, like, okay, well, just so you know, you're not going to look the way that I feel you could have looked because all these things happened. And I always tell them that. I'm like, you're probably not going to look like you should. And then when the show comes and they're done, and this has only happened to me a couple times, then if they complain, then I'll tell them straight. I'll be like, well, I'm like, don't even complain to me because you did this, you were cheating, you did this, all these things happened. So you weren't ready. And I told you didn't have to compete, but you wanted to do it.
mm-hmm.
If they don't complain, then I'll say, hey, good job. I mean, that was a good experience. Maybe next time, if you do a show, maybe next time you can actually do it the proper way.
That's what I tell
So
like all of them. Be okay with where you placed. I
yeah,
mean, not to say that I'm saying not to say judging is or isn't fair. It just is. And you should be okay with where you place. Come back better next year.
Yeah, because I think the one thing that is interesting is I think people will blame the coach a lot, or they'll blame that coach, or
People will blame the coach a lot.
even the vice versa. Like, okay, how about this one? Somebody who's crazy genetically blessed, who's been training for a long time, jumps onto a coach, and then all of a sudden, like everyone's like, that coach is the guru, and it's like, is he the guru, or is that person really good? Like that person was gonna do well regardless. Okay, like so that's the thing, right? Maybe the guy is a good coach, but like a lot of times you'll see it. This guy will get one person that's really good, and then all of a sudden, all these other people will start jumping on him. They're also really good, right? And then everyone's like, "Oh, that's the celebrity trainer, that's the guy." Is like, does he have that much more knowledge than say this other national or state level coach? Not necessarily, not always, but they were able to get the big names in, and then
The
it kind of
big
grew it.
names, yeah.
Yeah, it grew it. So that happens. And yeah, and again, people will blame coaches, but I don't think it's always the coach, it's definitely the person doing it. That's the number one, right?
You
The number
talking
one.
about how they may not show up stage ready because they
Yeah.
had so many things happening in their life.
Mhm.
Um, yes, life happens, but what I tell my people that I help, it's like, you guys made this choice to compete.
Yeah.
Nobody told you you have to. This is an option for you to compete. And being that said, me personally, life happens. That it doesn't give you a reason to wear it on your sleeve like a, you know, oh, I'm competing. Get
Yeah.
the fuck out of my face. No, that's not cool. It's a
And I
choice.
mean,
Or
it's
take it out on
stressful.
your dog, your mom, your
Yeah.
boss, or whatever.
It is stressful,
It is
obviously, when
stressful,
you're
but
dieting, because when you're dieting is stressful, right? Dieting is kind of stressful. You're hungry, you get moody, you're on all this gear. If you're
it's a
not,
choice
so there's a
still.
lot. So, but in the end, yeah, it's a
And I
choice.
honestly think, and we touched on this earlier, perspective is everything. So if you come in with a good attitude with it, and things happen. One of my people's vehicles got broken into one early morning and said he cut his hand and had some other things. It's perspective. He
Mhm.
still turned out very well. He got a second place in his showing, and he didn't let the little things get to him. It was just like, all
Yeah.
right, my car got broken into.
Yeah.
All right, I cut my hand. All right, like what's
Right.
next?
Yeah, he
Instead
was
of being
zoned
like,
in. He was
F
zoned in.
this,
Right.
F that, like,
Yeah.
woe is me. He didn't come in with this attitude or mentality or undershooting yourself thinking like, I look shitty. I'm gonna do shitty. It's
Oh,
everything, right?
that happens a lot.
Attitude is
The
everything.
negative thought
Yeah.
process.
So
Yeah.
what do
Yeah,
you,
that happens.
yeah, tell me more about that from your perspective.
Well, I mean, negative thought process. Yeah, I'm a huge believer. I mean, you can manifest it, right? So I really believe if you have negative thoughts, especially about your physique, well, I mean, I don't think you're gonna show up with your best look. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have to visualize that physique that you want to present on stage, see that in your mind, and then that's what you're gonna bring the day of the show, not be negative, be worried. Am I going to make it? I don't look good. I don't think I'm going to do good. I don't think I'll do well. Like a lot of those thoughts, which I get it. People, I mean, that's a lot of people think that, but um, I, I just don't think that's going to help you the day of the show having those
Yeah.
type of thought
And I
process.
honestly think you have to be it before you become it.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. Well, if you believe it, right? If
I
you
couldn't
honestly
short
believe it in your
like
mind,
I
yeah,
couldn't shortcut myself to winning. Like there's no freaking way. I
yeah,
needed to know like how when Chad was on here, what you eat, has that
mhm,
compound effect. If that's all you get to eat, then that's what you're gonna eat. You're gonna be on point with your diet, with your exercise execution, with your cardio, with everything. Because if let's just say the whole road to pro shit, if you ain't acting like a pro, what makes you think you're going to become one?
yeah,
Contest prep is manifesting. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
yeah,
If somebody wants to look a certain way or achieve a certain goal, I tell them, you imagine the type of person you're wanting to be. Imagine how you look. Imagine what accolades you get or whatever. You have to visualize that person And then when you come to that decision you have to make and that fork in the road of whether I should do this or that, you have to do what that person would do.
Mhm.
That's how you have to do it. So, when you're getting ready for a contest and the boys want you to go out, okay, the you that you're wanting to be, what would that person do?
Mhm.
That's how you have to look at it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, well, that was awesome. Next week we are going to have a guest.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we're gonna have. I think there's 2 of them actually coming,
Okay.
so should be a good one.
Same episode or back to back?
No, we're just gonna have them
Okay.
sit
Same
here.
episode.
Oh, okay. I know it is.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, should be good. But
So this wraps up what episode number 4. Maybe we'll get 8
wow.
people to stick around the next time.
Yeah, we can get into double digits would be great.
And don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe,
All right,
support local.
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
Good talk, guys.
All right, guys, thanks for watching this episode of Paradise Pump, and aloha.